Hey, beautiful people. Thanks for tuning in. This is Uncut Gems with Slim, your weekly motivational push to dive deep into fulfilling your purpose, pursuing your passion, and expanding your capacity to become your best self. What is up, beautiful people? How are y'all doing? I hope y'all are doing great and lovely on whatever day and whatever time you are listening to this episode. If you are listening for the first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in to Uncut Gems with Slim. If you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. And if you are already subscribed, yes, thank you. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you for tuning in weekly. And thank you for coming back for another episode of Uncut Gems with Slim. So if you've been listening this past month, we touched on quite a bit. We talked about the power of asking, being both hungry and full, and remembering and reacting to the facts. So if you haven't checked out any of those episodes, make sure you go back and listen to those episodes. But as the podcast continues to grow each month, y'all, I'm super excited to announce that each month I'm looking to have a guest on the show for a special gemstone episode. Typically, this will be towards the end of the month, but it's just one episode out of the month where we basically gonna give you a double dose of Slim, okay? So we'll host an episode about twice as long just to really dive deep into some gems. So it may include multiple gems in one. You just never know what you're gonna get. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay tuned for what's next with the podcast. So for this week's gemstone episode, I don't have a special guest. Well, let me get that right. Yes, special guest is me, baby, okay? So I am the special guest for this first gemstone episode, but we will be talking in depth about a few different things today. If you're interested in hearing different people on the podcast for the gemstone episode, feel free to head on over to Instagram. My Instagram is at Slim Reshae. It's in the show notes, but go ahead over there and just DM me and share with me who you would like to see on the podcast. But without further ado, we just gonna jump straight into it. So y'all, I was scrolling on Instagram, how I usually do, and my good sis reposted this graphic that was explaining reasons why people stay in unhealthy relationships. And I know this is very random because we have yet to talk about relationships. And I say yet because it's definitely coming. I'm a professionally single woman and I have a lot to share, okay? But right now we're not getting into that. But the last point on this graphic just stood out to me so strongly. And it said, sometimes you put up with things because you aren't tired enough. And I've heard something similar to this before, but never just blank straight out like that. And I was like, because I was like, child, ain't that the truth, honey? Now, again, like I said, we aren't dipping our foot into the relational pool just yet. But I wanted to take this point and make it relatable to what we encounter on the daily. So, think about it. How many times have we remained in expired situations with no real reason to stay? And that could be like friendships that are well past their expiration date, but we just keep holding on to the friendship because of time served or battles fought together, things like that. And that goes for jobs too. You've been clocking in for 20 years, baby girl. And you've been complaining when you clock out for 20 years, okay? What I'm basically saying, we've been putting ourselves in these expired situations, better yet, not exiting these expired situations because we aren't tired enough. And you may rant and you may say, I'm so tired that every time so-and-so come to me, she always wants something. Or every time he always use me for this and that. But child, you ain't tired enough if you keep allowing it. What you allow will continue. Ooh, what you allow will continue, and you just aren't tired enough. And at some point, you gonna get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's at that point, okay? It is at that point where you get your boots and your coat and get up on out of there, okay? I said what I said. Get your boots and your coat and get up out of there, sis. But it is so important to protect your peace. And I know in this episode today, as I was jotting down notes, it was a little bit, over here, over there, but it all kind of summed back up to this important point to protect your peace. And I've been preaching this for a long time. My good sis actually has this coined on her channel as her goodbye phrase. And this is just a huge part of the way that I move, because it's so important to protect your peace. And y'all, think about it. It's hard to enjoy. Well, first of all, I don't eat cereal with milk, but for the people who do, it's hard to enjoy your bowl of cereal when the milk is spoiled, okay? I know you ain't never tried eat no spoiled milk and cereal. If you did, who child, bless you. But come on now, you can't enjoy that cereal if the milk is spoiled. And so that basically is getting around to my point where it's hard to facilitate life with a whole bunch of expired people in situations just traveling in your baggage. You just can't navigate efficiently and effectively. I feel like I'm preaching, okay? You cannot facilitate through life. You can't move through the well, first of all, pre-COVID, you can't be in the hustle and bustle of life, moving through the subway, if you got all this baggage on you of these expired situations, this expired job, this expired friend. Shoot, some of y'all might have some expired spouses that you should have never been in a relationship, but I'm not married, so that's neither here nor there, and I cannot give any advice. But back to my point, I just kind of trickled away because I just felt like I was going somewhere with that, but let's reel it on in. But anyway, basically, it is time to make some choices to uplift your surroundings. Pay attention to your surroundings. If you used to, go out and hang in the club scene and stuff like that, pay attention to your surroundings. You can't just do that when you in sticky situations. You need to do that all the time and just make those choices to protect your peace. And this brings me to maintaining your circle. So first, let's think about who is currently in your circle. You sit here or stand here or whatever you're doing right now, listen to this podcast. If you on the treadmill, walking, jogging, running, walking swiftly, whatever you're doing right now listening to this podcast, think about who is currently in your circle. There are intentional people in your circle as well as unintentional people in your circle. So the intentional ones are people, and I didn't realize this until after college and I started working my first full-time job, and there are intentional people who you choose to do life with. So those are going to be like your best friends, your family, people like that. And then there are unintentional people who are in your circle, which consists of people who are in your circle because of their proximity to you. So for example, that would be like your co-workers, your classmates, your church family, and other people you might see on a daily or weekly basis, but may not be people that you have a foundational background with. And both circles can be beneficial, but it is necessary to maintain the level of access that you give to these people. So if you don't like gossiping and being in drama, then you might not need to be conversing with Sister Gertrude after Sunday school. You might not need to share your business with Miss Sandra at the job. It's okay to leave a situation that is not positively contributing to your peace and your state of mind. It's completely okay, because sometimes we get on ourselves like, oh, you're not being a good friend because you want to leave this friendship that is expired. You don't feel bad about leaving a friendship or a relationship that is way past its expiration date, okay? Do not feel bad about that. And then for those people who are in your intentional circle, do a clean sweep every now and then. See who's feeding you and see who's draining you. Because sometimes the people who are in that inner circle You tend to let them get away. You tend to let them get away with a few more things than you would if it was somebody else. So you got to hold your circle accountable and don't sweep situations under the rug that disturb you. So now on to the contrary, we must lean into those in our circle who are acting as a catalyst to our growth. And what I mean by that big little word catalyst is we have to lean into those people who are going to challenge your thought process, those who hold you accountable. And they may be the ones you often bump heads with because they ain't going to sugarcoat the truth, okay? They're not going to sugarcoat the truth to make you feel good. And I know a lot of times we want to be buttered up and all that stuff, but you always need someone like this in your life who is going to shoot you straight. So as a part of this week's gem, I want to encourage you to find comfort in the discomfort. And I'm going somewhere with this. So what I mean by this is that those straight shooters who are in your circle are the ones who are going to cause discomfort at times because they're going to put a mirror up to your face, okay? And they're going to tell you what it is. So they're going to cause discomfort because they're going to be holding you accountable, and they're not going to sugarcoat it and make it look pretty so you can give an excuse for why you do this the way you are doing it rather than the way you should. And so during that moment of discomfort, when you're confronted about yourself or what you're doing or the moves you're making by that accountable friend, you need to know that this discomfort is just a prerequisite for growth. It's just a setup for you to grow and tap in to the fullness of yourself. Tap into the next level of you. So, for example, when a baby learn how to walk, I'm sure it ain't comfortable when they be stumbling and falling over every time the baby go up to get up and stand to walk. When you go to the gym for the first time in a long time, honey, and I'm right there right now because I ain't been to the gym since COVID. But when you go back for the first time in a long time, you experience discomfort. And you sometimes experience pain before your muscles begin to grow. Even when you secure that first job fresh out of college, you may experience discomfort at that entry-level position because you're, starting to learn how old folks is just like young folks that just grew in age. When you working and people got work drama, this, that, and the third, you might be uncomfortable when you're there. But that discomfort is going to prepare you for growth that you'll experience in your career later down the line. I better come through with these examples now. Like, I know y'all was feeling that. Y'all was really feeling the baby one because I was feeling that one because that's very relatable. Okay, so this a whole sidebar right here. But as I'm starting to grow more in my walk with God, I choose to have a few spiritually mature friends and elders, and I just prop them up on my shoulder every now and then to give me like advice or to be like, what would they do? And so as I was like formulating the information that I wanted to share with y'all today, I know any one of these little spiritual mentors on my shoulder would tell me, what's this? What the Bible say about it? And so the first thing that came to my mind is how we talked last week about discomfort. Well, we talked about my discomfort with correction, and being frank, I'll say most people's discomfort with correction. So guess what I did? I Googled what the Bible say about correction. I sure did. I sure did. So the way that I narrowed down which scriptures I was going to reference was basically because they was from some of the same books, and they was like near my favorite scriptures, or at least some scriptures that are heavily familiar to me. And like we pre-discussed in previous episodes, I am not the best, being transparent, I am not the best at reading my Bible, but I do try to do better. And that's when I pop my little spiritual mentors on my shoulders and be like, okay, sis, well, what do the Bible say about that? Instead of just putting your own, twist and tangle to what you think is going on, what do the Bible say about it? So anyway, when I Googled what the Bible said about correction, I picked out this first verse, or this first scripture, and what I stumbled on was Proverbs 12:1. And y'all already know what version I'm about to read, okay? Say it in the back. The easy to read version. So it simply states, whoever loves discipline loves to learn, semicolon, because punctuation is important. Whoever hates to be corrected is stupid. And I don't know about y'all, but I ain't stupid, okay? Like, I might not be the smartest cookie. Well, in high school, I was valedictorian, so technically I might have been the smartest cookie in the class, but that's neither here nor there. I may not be the smartest cookie, but I'm not stupid. Therefore, if I'm not stupid, that must mean I love to learn, which in my defense, I do love to learn, and I've been growing and enjoying learning. So that means I must work toward loving discipline. So I got to work towards learning how to love discipline. I don't know why I took that pause, that dramatic pause. I thought I was about to go somewhere, but I'm about to go somewhere. I'm setting y'all up. So here we go. So in reference to a part of our gym this week, being comfortable with discomfort, if I have to work toward loving discipline, that means I have to work towards loving correction. I have to work towards being comfortable with correction. All right, so follow me. So the second verse that chimed in when I Googled what did the Bible say about correction was Hebrews 12:11. And I choose it because it was close to Hebrews 11:1. So here we go. And yet again, you already know it's the easy to read version. Yes, I did it again. The easy to read version. And why do I read this version? Because it is easy to read. So moving on. Hebrews 12:11 put it plain and simple for us. And it basically says, we don't enjoy discipline when we get it. It is painful. But later, after we have learned our lesson from it, we will enjoy the peace that comes with doing what is right. Now this thing better bring us full circle to this week's gemstone gem, okay? Which is protect your peace, okay? So the word is fact, right? So the word is truth. The Bible, that's what I'm talking about when I say the word. The word is true. The word is fact. So let's dissect it real quick. Now I don't do this often because I don't really be knowing what I'm saying, but I'm going to tell y'all what I got from this when I read it. So when we receive discipline and correction, we don't enjoy it and it is painful. That's what it said. I added in correction in there because discipline and correction are kind of synonymous in the way that I'm dissecting this right now. So discipline and correction, when we receive it, we don't enjoy it and it is painful. So basically, discipline and correction causes discomfort. Follow me. But later, after we've learned our lesson from it, so not later when we're in our feelings about it, or when we're in our feelings about the way that somebody delivered the correction, okay? Because sometimes God will send correction through somebody that you ain't expecting it to come through, or he'll send it through somebody who got an attitude, okay? So not later when we're in our feelings about it, but later after we've learned our lesson from it. So not when we're in the cycle of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again in hopes of it getting a different result. But after we've learned from it, after we've learned our lesson from it, okay? So not after we receive correction and we keep doing we do the insanity thing that I was saying, where you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Not then, but after we learn our lesson from it. And so y'all know what I had to do. I had to go a little bit deeper. And so what I did was I Googled what learned, the definition of learn. So learn by definition is to gain or acquire knowledge of or skill in something by studying, experiencing, or being taught. And it is at that moment that we will enjoy peace that comes with doing what is right. So peace is a result of learning from correction. Correction is a result of discomfort. So if you are experiencing discomfort, You need to go ahead and prepare to learn and know that peace is at the end of the tunnel. Y'all see how I did that right there? I ain't need no preaching now. I don't preach like that. I don't preach at all, actually. I just, make TikToks and stuff. But this is a whole gem right here. So by finding comfort in the discomfort, you are basically trusting that all things are working for my good. He's intentional. So last week I mentioned how I'm not fully there when it comes to accepting correction. And a lot of times when I get corrected, it's an uncomfortable situation for me. But if I start to associate my discomfort with the brink of something good, knowing that a new lesson is about to be learned that'll promote growth, I can assess the situation with a peace of mind. And it's funny because I've recently allowed someone new into my circle, y'all. And the few times we have had conversations, she literally comes for my jugular every single time. But for some reason, the offense and discomfort that I normally would have towards someone who just gets me together so swiftly isn't there. Like, I don't get offended. And the discomfort, it's like I actually enjoy having that straight shooter who is going to help keep me aligned and hold me accountable. I've also recently started following like certain people who make me uncomfortable, but in a good way. They challenge my thought process. They make me think about my why behind my actions. They make me realize what is truly important. And I say all this to say, surround yourself with genuine supporters and accountability partners. Now, if you're like me, you may need a friend who is going to butter you up before laying it on you, okay? But after being buttered up, you may also need that friend who is going to smack the butter off your face and give it to you straight, no seasoning. Or, well, for my youngins, straight, no chaser, if you get what I'm saying. But it is so important to manage your circle. You don't plant a tomato seed and expect a plum tree to grow, honey. You just don't do that. So don't allow negative people to sow negative seeds into your life and expect to be able to live a peaceful and positive life. It doesn't work like that. So we've talked about the people you should surround yourself with. And I just want to briefly touch on those who you may need to let go. And so I was on someone's Instagram live and they made a comparison of how the parts of trees are like. They basically made a comparison between the parts of trees to your relationships with people. So basically some people are like the leaves, right? They come and go as the season changes. They wither away with the quickness, completely temporary. And then some people are like branches. They're more sturdy, but when too much pressure is applied, it can break and it'll fall off. And I'm be honest, I don't really remember what the trunk has stood for, so I'm going to just go off the dome with it and say that the trunk is those people who are like your relationship with them is strong and it can withstand almost anything unless a storm comes and breaks what was once standing. So that may be for people who are divorced, that may be an ex-spouse. Y'all were once strong, you know what I'm saying, and a storm come and what was once standing is now broken. That might be a childhood friend or a family member potentially. And then lastly, you have those people in those relationships who are like the roots. Those people who will grow with you. They grow stronger and wider over the years, no matter what happens above the surface. Unless you get like a stump grinder or something to grind out all the roots, which even then, honey, you still never gonna get all the roots up. But it's those relationships that are long lasting. And so hopefully that analogy made sense. I was really going off the dome because I remember the concept of what they were saying, but I just put my own twist to it. But anyway, the point being said is you got to leave the leaves, honey. leave the leaves. You like that, innit? Let go of those seasonal people when their reason for the season is girl, you better write these show notes. Sorry, y'all. I just read that word for word, and I didn't know I had give y'all that juice. So yes, y'all, leave the leaves. Let go of those seasonal people when their reason for the season is complete. And learn the lesson that you need to learn from them. And then you know what to do. Grab your boots and your coat and get up on out of there, sis. This is also important to do on social media if you're like an active person on social media. So many of my followers know that I don't follow a large amount of people. I don't. And that's because it is my responsibility to protect my peace. It's no one else's responsibility to protect my peace but me. And so, like, if you're scrolling, you might not even realize it. But if you're just scrolling and then you see someone on your timeline that don't give you joy or gives you anything but positive vibes, you might need to unfollow them, because day in, day out, you keep scrolling and these people keep giving you moments of like, oh, you know, this person get on my nerves. Like, and why are you following people who don't give you positive vibes? Because that's gonna knock off your positive energy, whether you know it or not. Every time you scroll past that person, or if it's someone like you used to like or something like that, and y'all had a falling out, like, I'm not saying you gotta unfollow people that you're not on the same page with, but if every time you scroll past them or you see a picture of somebody mention their name and you kind of get a little funky attitude real quick for a quick millisecond, you might not need to be following people like that, because it's going to throw off your energy. And so every so often, I'll go through and I'll vet through the people that I follow, and I'll remove anyone that isn't giving me positive energy. And it's made a huge difference, because you can't protect your peace if you keep letting things and people have access to disrupt that peace. If I know Susie May get on my nerves and she always, I don't know, flaunting this and that on Instagram, and it get on my nerves, there's no need for me to be following her, because if I follow her, that's giving her access to disrupt my peace. So whenever she posts something and it gets me a little worked up on the inside, like, that's allowing people to disrupt your peace, and they don't even know they doing it. And you might not even realize that they disrupting your peace until you really go through and evaluate, why are you following the people you following? Shoot, sometimes I follow the shade room, but sometimes I be ready to unfollow them, because I don't like feeding no drama. Not like that, but I don't watch the news, so I do get some of the news from there. But that's neither here nor there. But anyway, y'all get what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm going to try to pull this all together. But if I haven't outright said it already, this week's gemstone gem, that's what we going to call it, because I couldn't find another word that is like a bigger gem. Like, I ain't want to say diamond, you know what I'm saying? I ain't know what to say. I was going to say double jeopardy. That don't got nothing to do with gem. But anyway, this week's gemstone gem, that's what we going with. This week's gemstone gem is to protect your peace. And you could do so by maintaining your circle. So keep a straight shooter in your corner who's going to hold you accountable. And remember to find comfort in the discomfort, because discomfort is a prerequisite for growth. So y'all, that's all I got. I know it was a long one, but hopefully y'all enjoyed the first gemstone double dose of Slim episode. I hope it made sense. And y'all stay tuned. I got something that's going to be pleasing to the ear for y'all coming soon. I got a little something. So y'all stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and a rating for Uncut Gems with Slim. I really appreciate it. It helps me so much. And until next week, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and feel free to connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Slim Reshae. That's SlimReshae. Links will be listed in the show notes. And until next time, love yourself and be beautiful. Peace.